Good morning. It's so great to welcome you to our December 2021 monthly program, and so good to see you in person. I've just enjoyed meeting many of you this morning, and it's just really warms my heart to see you. So thank you so much for coming. I know it's not the most wonderful weather out there, but it's not as bad as yesterday. I also want to welcome members who will be watching us online at a later time, and we're glad that they will be tuning in to hear this wonderful program as well. Thank you so much for adhering to the mask and social distancing requirements. Just a reminder that your mask should remain in place, covering your nose and mouth while you are in the building or riding on the shuttle bus. And yes, I will put mine completely back on when I'm done talking. At this time, please make sure that your phone or other electronic devices are silenced. We do not want to have any ringing, singing, or dinging during this morning's musical program, which will be provided by the West Ottawa High School Jazz Band.
Lots of clapping, though.
Yeah, you may do that.
Thank you for getting warmed up.
It's a great joy to have these young people with us this morning as they help us swing into the holiday season. During the question and answer time, we will be using two standalone mics. We have one up right now, and then I guess that we're just going to use the one. We'll try that, because if Mike needs to answer any questions, he'll need to use this one. So there'll be somebody up there to help if you need assistance. But you will have to get up out of your seat and walk to the front if you have a question or comment. At the end of the meeting, Kim and Susan will be dismissing you by sections of the auditorium, so please follow their directions. And our new members will be meeting at the front of the auditorium for a very short orientation session. Our January 2022 program will be on Tuesday, the 4th, and the program will be presented by Richard Ray, David Stubbs, and Pam Bush from the Hope Western Prison Education Program. You probably have read about this program in our local newspaper and in a recent News from Hope publication. It will be an interesting and inspiring program for us as lifelong learners to hear how education is being brought to our fellow citizens who are incarcerated. Please watch for further details in our January newsletter about this meeting. As our fall term is winding down, I know you are getting anxious to learn about the upcoming winter-spring term of 2022, which will begin on January 19. You will be receiving the term catalog and calendar in the mail later this month and have plenty of time to make your selections before registration opens on January 5. There will be much to choose from, and additional details from Curriculum Chairperson Sharon Aronshorst can be found in the December newsletter. I've also been asked by the Special Events Committee to remind you about the next two events that are coming up. First is the short bus ride to St. Andrew's Cathedral in Grand Rapids, where you can hear the Grand Rapids Choir of Men and Boys present their program of lessons and carols. This will be a wonderful celebration of the Christmas season, which you can enjoy without the worry of driving and parking in Grand Rapids. Masks are required on the bus and in the cathedral. Sign up soon for this event, which is scheduled for Tuesday evening, December 21. The cost is $10, but you should also be prepared to participate in a free will offering for the choir. The second event, the 34th Annual Hope College Musical Showcase, will occur on February 4, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. in this concert hall. The fast-paced musical program will feature Hope College students performing everything from opera to jazz, organ and orchestral music, piano solos, and choral singing. Join fellow HASP members for a plated dinner at the Mass Center at 6 p.m. before the show. Please see the recent constant contact announcement for details regarding cost and reservations. We are so very glad that today we can introduce several new HASP members in person. Many joined HASP during the 18 months during the pandemic when we were not able to meet them in person. Doug Walvard, membership chair, will introduce them as well as any guests of today.
Well, we're really excited to welcome 8 guests and 1 new member to our HASP organization, our meeting this morning. And as Barb's saying, it's so great to do this in person, finally. It's just not the same to try to introduce someone on a computer monitor, and we're really glad you're here. Our guests today are Niall Linem, Greg Scrotenboer, Al Elders, Anna Dunkersloot, Joyce Pettinga, Fred Pettinga, Roger Zerkes, and Holly Haas. Our new member is Patricia Locke, and I'm going to ask Pat to stand, please, and just let her show you her smiley face. Pat, we're so glad you're here, and I've had a delightful conversation with you this morning already, and you're going to love this group, and I can't wait for you to really plug in. It'll be great. Also, as mentioned, quite a few of you have joined during the pandemic, and we've never had a chance to really introduce you in person. So I would like to ask anyone here who joined since roughly March of 2020 just to stand. Again, we're really glad you're here. And as was mentioned, we haven't had new member orientations because of the COVID, but we'll be meeting immediately after the presentation this morning. So please come to the front afterwards for that. So anyway, thank you. Welcome guests and new member.
Thank you, Doug. And now, on behalf of the HASP board and from me personally, I want to wish you a very happy holiday season that is filled with joy, love, comfort, and peace. I hope that you will be able to spend time with family and friends during this special time of year. Merry Christmas to all, and I look forward to seeing you in January of 2022. And now Claudia Berry, chairperson of the monthly program committee, will introduce this morning's program. Thank you.
Good morning. It has been, I would say, almost a tradition to make sure that in December at our monthly program, we bring you something with a musical bend to it. 2 years ago, we listened to Dan Fisher and his original composition called Stealing the Night. We did that in person at the Civic Center. Last year, we all zoomed in to hear an organ concert given by Rhonda Edgington, the choir and organ director at Hope Church. And this year, we are back in person to hear a program called It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. This presentation will give a brief overview of big band music during the swing era with several examples performed by the West Ottawa High School Jazz 1. It is led by Mike Hammond, and he is in his 29th year of teaching with 22 years at West Ottawa, something definitely to be admired. Under Mike's direction, West Ottawa High School bands and jazz band consistently receive first division ratings at district and state festivals. The West Ottawa High School Symphony Band and Jazz One have been featured performers at the Michigan Music Conference. Mr. Hammond himself is also an active performer as a member of the Holland Concert Jazz Orchestra. Just to let you know, the Jazz Band One is an audition to performance ensemble that focuses on, as I've mentioned, the big band style and interpretation along with improvisation. They have garnered numerous outstanding soloist, section, and ensemble awards at Central Michigan's annual Jazz Weekend, as well as recognition at Michigan State's University's Jazz Spectacular. Jazz One has twice been selected to perform as a featured ensemble at the Michigan Music Conference. So let's sit back and enjoy the West Ottawa Jazz Band. Thank you.
One, two, three, four. Check, check, check. Check. Yeah, all right, great. Sorry, I have a big mouth, so I'm used to not needing a microphone. Hard for me to tell when it's live or not. So thank you so much for having us here today. We're so thankful to be able to get a chance to share our music with you. It's really great to study about music and to learn about music. It's a wonderful thing, but it pales in comparison to getting to share the music with people in person. So thank you so much for letting us be a part of your meeting today. This is the West Ottawa High School Jazz One group that we have here before you today. The first tune that we played for you is entitled Liza Jane. It's a traditional brass band tune from New Orleans. If you think about like jazz history, art history, a lot of it really makes a lot of common sense. Why did jazz emanate? Why did it start in New Orleans? Well, back during the late 1800s and the very early 1900s, you had people flocking to New Orleans, being a port city, coming to the New World from pretty well every country in Europe, several countries in Africa, some by choice, some not by choice. But you had the meldings of all of those different cultures. You think of Irish folk music, of English dance music, German concert music, French concert music, all of those different styles of music, all of those different genres were taking place in New Orleans, and all of these different folks were being influenced because they all heard each other's music. So that tune is from New Orleans. So as we talk about swing, I'm also going to talk about a little bit of the geography of jazz this morning for you. So that was the birthplace of jazz, was New Orleans. Then, after kind of the germination or the beginning of jazz, it then started to travel up the Mississippi River and then head up and spread out through the Midwest. The next tune that we're going to play, and I need to remember soloist, I'm sorry. I got to give credit where credit is due. We featured several soloists on our last piece. If you guys can raise your hand when I call your name, and then if you can applaud at the end of the list, please. Oliver Kent on trumpet, Brandon Blake on piano, Joey Skurbeck on trumpet, Isaac Gutierrez on trombone, Cohen DeYoung on tenor saxophone, and Danica Denhoff on drums. Give it up for our soloists. Awesome. As you can see, we put quite a bit of emphasis on improvisation. I'll speak to that a little bit more later. So our soloist on our next tune will be Josh Elwood on alto saxophone. Raise your hand, please. Emmett Durr. That's funny. I almost gave you a different last name, Emmett. Emmett Durr on trombone. And Cohen DeYoung on tenor saxophone again. Nick Tunks on bass, and Brandon Blake on piano another time. So this tune was written by a very famous composer and band leader who got his start in Kansas City. This person I'm sure you all know, Mr. Count Basie. This is from probably his most famous album. This is the one that people put on all the, what are the top 10 jazz albums of all time. This makes the list every time, and pretty much on the top of the list. So this is from his Atomic Basie recording. This is what we call a riff tune. With a riff tune, a riff is just a short melodic idea, and a riff tune is based on that short melodic idea being played over and over again, and that may be changed around a little as we go through the song to develop that theme a little bit more. So the tune that we're going to play for you is the very famous Splanky. One, two, three, and... Great. We have a lot of music on our program, so there's going to be a little less talk from me and a little more playing from them. Does that sound all right to you? Yeah, great. So our next composer is Lionel Hampton, who's actually a very famous vibes player, as many of you may know. How many of you know Mr. Lionel Hampton? Maybe not personally, right? Okay, great. I actually got a chance to see him and Count Basie live. Great influence, well, the influence in jazz in my life was my parents. I grew up in Cadillac, and so just a little north of there, you may know is the Interlaken International Arts Academy, and so they would every year bring in great artists, and so I got to see Count Basie, I believe it was within the last year of his life, so one of his last performances I got to see live, and just, wow, what a great impression that made on me as a young person, so it was great, and so we try to continue the same idea, and I try to pass that on to these students through our guest artists that we bring in each year, pretty much every year for the last 15 to 17 years. We brought in professional artists to work with our students, and one of the tunes that we'll be playing a little bit later on is one that they shared with us. Those great folks are actually going to be back with us. Their name of the group is Sammy Miller and the Congregation, and they're going to be back with us in, you can check them out on YouTube, by the way. I encourage that. They're young and have tons of energy, and they're amazing virtuosic musicians all at the same time. You can be entertaining and be virtuosic all at the same time, which is pretty great, and it's awesome for our kids to be exposed to that. They will be coming back to us on May 18th, so I'll put in another little plug for that later on. This next tune is entitled Red Top, and it is going to be featuring Timothy McDonald on trombone, Vicente Martinez Rojas on trumpet, Oliver Kent on trumpet, and Nick Tunks on bass. This is Red Top. Excellent. These kids came to swing. This is their first public performance this year. Not bad for a first try, huh? Yeah. I'm so proud of these students, as I'm sure you understand, as all of our lives have been impacted by the last year and a half. It's been very challenging for these students, and I want you to know that I have such incredible respect for these people, the way that they handle themselves, the things that we had to do in the music area. We had to sit 6 feet apart, which is the worst thing to do. That's why you never see a group doing that, performing, any professionals, because it's terrible. You don't want to be that far apart. It made the job very, very, very difficult to watch, to see, to listen to one another, and to respond to one another. We had to leave the room after, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of rehearsal. We had to leave the room for 10 minutes, go down to the cafeteria for an air exchange. Obviously, we had different masks last year that we had to wear during the entire time, and it was all cool. And we understand the kids' health is the most important. My whole point in this is that you need to know these young people showed a better attitude than most any adults I came in contact with over the last year and a half. So. And then to be playing the way that they are after all of the challenges that they had in the last year and a half, I cannot be more proud of them. I just cannot say enough good things about them. The growth from the first day of rehearsal till now has been steady and consistent, and it's just really outstanding. So anyways, I'd go on all day about them. But I need to keep going because you guys at some point need to take off. So our next tune is entitled Meet the Band, which is a little ironic because we're halfway through the program, a little more than halfway through the program. So you're going to meet some more of the band. This is a tune that was put together by Sammy Miller and the congregation. This is another riff tune, so I'd like you to listen along as we play. You'll hear, as we get past some of the solo sections, or even during some of the solo sections, you'll hear some little repetitive strains being played by the trombones. In other sections, that's what a riff is, so that you can get more comfortable with that concept. Here's Meet the Band. One, two, three, and. Thank you very much. Our soloists on that last tune were Brandon Blake on piano, Cohen DeYoung on tenor saxophone, Joey Skirbeck on trumpet, Emmett Durr on trombone, Josh Elwood on alto saxophone, Nick Tunks on bass, and Oliver Kent on trumpet at the end. Could you hear some of those repetitive themes on the... I'm sorry, clap for them. Yes, please, thank you. That's enough appreciation. Now, let's get back to learning. Okay. No. Could you hear some of the repeated themes in there, right? Hopefully they're pretty easy to pick up on with the riff tunes. We're doing quite a few of those today. So we're now actually going to change styles significantly. Another great composer that we all know of who wrote a huge number of tunes, actually well over 2,000 compositions, anywhere from just short little 2-3 minute pieces all the way to extended form pieces like ballets and so forth. And that is the great and wonderful Mr. Duke Ellington. And we are going to play now a piece that is entitled Acapulco. That's a mouthful. It's actually just Acapulco backwards, okay? We played a tune, one of our guest artists several years ago. We had the tune called Emanon, and we're like, okay, well, that's a weird name. It's No Name backwards. Dizzy Gillespie wrote a tune, and he didn't really care what the name was, so he just called it No Name, but put it backwards, Emanon. Okay, so at any rate, he had amazing talent. I guess he could do what he wanted to. So this is going to be much more of a Latin style of a piece. Again, another great resource that we've had come in and work with us just recently is Hope's very own Professor Stafford Hunter. He is one of the new jazz faculty members here, and he actually performed, I want to say it was 19 years, he said, with the Duke Ellington Orchestra. So that's pretty good when you have people who can just kind of drive across town and say, yes, when we played this in Duke Ellington's band, this is how we played it. That's the type of level of instruction that we're trying to provide for our students, is that firsthand knowledge that's great to pass that on. Jazz, like anything else, is like a language, right? And so we want to sound like native speakers. We don't want to say habla español, right? You don't sound like you're much of a swinging cat if you say your jazz phrases in a non-swinging manner. So next up, we're going to feature Cohen DeYoung on tenor saxophone and Mr. Brandon Blake once again on the piano. This is Acapulco. By the way, in the middle of this tune, despite it being from the Latin American suite, gets to a swing section. And the next concept that I'd like you to kind of listen for regarding swing in our discussion today is that a large part of what helps out with swing is what we call the laid-back feel, rather than the time being real rigid, especially on the upbeats, okay? Instead of it being 1 and 2 and 3 and, we say we swing the 8 notes. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you'll hear that quite predominantly. There's a big shout swing section, and then there's a shuffle section when Cohen plays the solo later on in the piece. But I want you to listen for how that kind of lays back, and it doesn't feel like it's real hurried, but it's that casual swing and sway that we want. This is all dance music, right? Jazz is dance music. That's where that emanated from. By the way, if you're not tapping your toe today, we will feel like a failure. We hope that you at least move some to this music. If you want to get up and dance, that's all good with us. You're 6 feet apart, but get up and dance, move to the music. If you want to do a little shoulder chair dance while you're in your place, that's all good if you're more comfortable, but we hope that you enjoy this. Here we go. Just 4 counts. Is that good? Here we go. A 1 and a 2 and ready and. All right. Now, we're going to move on to our last selection of the day for you. When I turned around and did a little bit of clapping during that shout section, that was to give you a feel for where that laying back comes in on the swing section. Hear how late that last note is that they play in that little phrase. You'll hear a bunch of laying back again in the middle section of our next tune. Yes, 'tis the season. Our last tune is a Christmas tune. It is entitled Yo Tannenbaum. This is from the Gordon Goodwin Orchestra. This is a more current day composition. And this is the real deal. This is not a watered down arrangement. Some of the tunes that we do are simplified versions from what the professionals play, but an awful lot of what you've heard today, like Liza Jane, Meet the Band, Aklupaka, in this one, Yo Tannenbaum, these are literally what the professional musicians play. So we're trying to give our students a very rigorous curriculum with super high expectations. So we'll wrap up with this last song. This will feature Josh Elwood, again, on alto saxophone, as well as Nick Tunks on bass, and then we'll hopefully have time for a couple of questions, especially if you have any questions about improvisation. These students, again, I'm just so proud of them. I feel like the number of students who are understanding how to improvise, which is just an incredibly complex situation. It's one thing, we're pretty much obeying the rules of the road while we're playing the written music, right? Just like we would in band or an orchestra. But there's so much, it's now you're creating the music, and you're creating it somewhat on the fly when you're doing that as an improviser. And so there are a few things that the students have played today that they might typically play, but certainly not note for note the entire solo. So they're being creative and taking risks right in front of you, the audience, in our first performance of the year, and just doing some outstandingly mature work for students of their age. So we will conclude with Yo Tannenbaum.
Thank you. I think that, I should say, you enjoyed playing for us as much as all of us here in the audience enjoyed hearing from you. How much we have missed. It just shows how much we've missed our live performances and how important they are for each and every one of us. I am so thankful for all of you who have come today, and so thankful that we have students here in the West Ottawa Jazz Band 1, led by Mike, that are doing such a tremendous job with jazz music. We'd like to